Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we're talking all about changing jobs, going to different law firms, making a lateral move. And to walk us through all of the specifics, all of the industry knowledge is Abby Gordon, Senior Director at Lateraling. Abby, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Angela.
Awesome. I can't wait to dive in. The first thing that I want to talk about is sort of this, what is lateraling, who laterals, and why do they lateral? So kind of to start off with the basics, when we talk about lateraling, what does that term mean? What are we talking about?
That's a good question. When we talk about lateraling, generally we're talking about law firm to law firm moves. So as recruiters, we work with lateral attorneys, meaning not entry-level attorneys. These are attorneys who are already out working usually at least 1 year, and associates up through counsel and partner level.
Gotcha. Okay. And when we talk about specifically who's lateraling, so in the associate groups, what years do you usually see people start to look to lateral or law firms look to want to hire associates?
Associates look to lateral from the very beginning if they don't like the practice group they're in, or they think they can get into a more prestigious firm, or they just don't like the people they're working with. But generally, it's really tough to lateral until you have a bit of experience under your belt. So for litigators, you can lateral at a little bit more junior level, maybe after 1 year of experience, up through about 4 years is when you start to see a drop off in marketability for litigation associates. On the corporate side, because it's so different from anything you've done in law school, firms tend to look for at least 3 years of experience from corporate associates. Sometimes after 2 years, a very well-credentialed associate is able to make a lateral move, but 3 to 6 years of experience on the corporate side tends to be the sweet spot.
And when we talk about why associates are lateraling, you actually wrote an awesome article on this, and I'm going to link it in the description below. And I wish we had time to talk about all of these reasons, but for at least for this video, I'm going to go ahead and list them out. And then if you guys are interested in reading more about it, definitely check out Abby's article. And so she has, as the 12 reasons why associates switch firms, she has number 1, they want better partnership prospects. Number 2, to feel less pressure to make partner. Number 3, that they're not getting their preferred substantive work. Number 4, they're not getting enough responsibility. Number 5, they're not getting enough client contact or encouragement to do client and business development, which is such a huge problem at law firms. That definitely comes up all the time. Number 6, maybe the associate likes the work that they're doing, but they wish they had more exposure to clients in different industries. Number 7, the associate would prefer a smaller boutique firm, and you say this is especially true with litigators, which is definitely true. I've definitely seen that in practice. Number 8, someone is stuck on an all-consuming matter with no end in sight, and switching firms is the only way out. I actually wish we had time to tell stories about this because this definitely happened in the firm that I was working for, and it's crazy when it happens, but sometimes you're right. The only way to get away from a partner or off of a matter is to completely change firms, which is really crazy, but it's true. Number 9, the associate wants to or needs to move to a new city. Number 10, the associate doesn't love the people that he or she is working with. Number 11, a move to another firm could be a helpful or necessary stepping stone to an ideal government or in-house job that the associate is trying to get down the road. And number 12, because the associate is looking to make more money. And oh my gosh, this is just so amazing. I wish we had 3 hours to talk about all of these different reasons. But yeah, I see these all the time, and it makes total sense. And the article is great, you guys. So definitely check it out, so that you can understand a little bit more these reasons. So that I think kind of what you have said often too is that so you're aware of them when they start to come up, and that you stay kind of in the moment with your career, and you have a good pulse on if you're enjoying the position, or if you're ready to make a move.
Associates will ask me all the time, why do other associates want to move? I think everything is fine where I am now, but what are the reasons other people are starting to think about making a move? So it's good to have those factors in mind.
All right, so part two, the strategy of lateraling. When you're thinking through as an associate making that strategic move, you mentioned that the sweet spot for associates is 3 to 5 years. And why should associates at least be aware of that and be cognizant of that as a sweet spot and be, wary of not waiting too long to lateral until, i.e., waiting past that sort of prime sweet spot?
That's a great question. Most associates assume that the more experience you have, the better. And unfortunately, that does not always turn out to be the case in terms of what law firms are looking for. Once you get to be too senior, you're more expensive in terms of your billing rate and your salary. So the firm is taking a bigger chance on you. There's also a little bit of a no man's land where you're pretty senior, but you probably don't have your own book of business yet, and the firm doesn't really know what to do with you. And again, that's not just the firm wanting to be cheap, that's client pressure, not wanting to pay for a higher billing rate for that more senior associate. So really, again, the 3 to 5 year sweet spot is an important time frame to keep in mind. And that's not to say wait 3 years to even start thinking about making a move. Start thinking really early on, but with that sweet spot in mind. There are far too many associates who wait too long to make a move, and they usually find something, and that may be a fantastic fit in the end. But I see a lot of associates struggle, and it makes me sad that they would have had perhaps 5 offers had with the same credentials and the same experience had they tried to lateral a couple years sooner. But if they wait until their 7th years, 8th years, it becomes a lot more difficult, and it's more a question of which firm will take them and not which firm do they want to land at.
Gotcha. And when we're talking about sort of the associates that are qualified to lateral, are there any baseline qualifications that associates need to have in order, for example, for you to feel confident that you can place them?
Every firm has its own baseline requirements. We, as a recruiting firm, base our criteria on what our client is telling us they require. So I will certainly have a conversation with anyone and then assess based on the specific job they're looking to apply to, whether they would have a reasonable shot or not. But most of the firms we work with as lateral recruiters are in the AmLaw 100 or AmLaw 200, plus some more high-end boutiques. And most of these firms do have fairly stringent requirements in terms of the credentials, in terms of good law schools, good grades, good experience.
Yeah, and so, even staying in the vein of strategy, if somebody's watching this and they're either about to start law school or they're in law school now, I know that you mentioned that grades can still and do still follow associates even 3, 5, 6 years down the road. And so graduating in a higher percentile of your class can still be a really important aspect of your candidacy, even, 6 years into your career.
Absolutely. And we even work with a couple of firms that will ask for JD transcripts from partner candidates. So even a partner with perhaps millions of dollars in portable book of business, they will still ask for a transcript. So grades remain very important. Having grades that even get better 2nd and 3rd year can be a real plus and help an associate move to a more prestigious firm after they have a bit of experience under their belt. But too many associates make the mistake of thinking, oh, I have my summer associate stint, I'll get an offer for permanent employment as a full-time associate, I can slack off now. And that is a big mistake if you ever want the chance of moving to another firm. And many associates go in thinking, oh, I'm never going to move to another firm, but many, many, many do who say from the start they'll never move to another firm.
Yeah, and just talking about the statistics that are out there, I mean, you see numbers as high as, almost 50% of associates moving in the first 3 years of their firm, something like 80% of associates moving within 6 years of their firm. It's crazy, but I think it's something that you're right, a lot of new lawyers don't think about. They're so worried, of course, of getting the first job, which is, of course, the most important, but then you don't think about, okay, well, what am I going to do in 2 years or 5 years or 7 years? And so I think that's an awesome point to really think about and think long term like that.
Absolutely. It seems crazy, but you look at the structure of these big law firms, and that is the plan all along, that 95% of entry-level attorneys will ultimately leave by the time the partnership decision is up. And most of these attorneys are going to leave self-selectively.
Okay, now talking about part 3, the actual process of lateraling. One of the things you hear about all the time is that a lateral interview is nothing like an OCI interview or an interview when you're a brand new associate. What are some of the differences that you might see in a lateral interview that you wouldn't see in an entry-level interview?
That's absolutely right. When you're applying for a job as a summer associate, at least in my experience, most of the questions were about what I did on my summer vacation. When you're at the lateral level, the firm not only expects you to have good credentials and be someone pleasant to work with, but they also want to make sure that you have the substantive knowledge and the experience to hit the ground running when you take on this new role. Basically, the bar that you have to overcome is, why should we hire you instead of retraining or retooling somebody we already have on our payroll who's already employed with the firm? So you really have to show your value, not just in terms of your smarts and willingness to learn and ability to be a quick learner, but in terms of your knowledge base and ability to really, again, hit the ground running once you arrive. So it may not come in the screening interview, but at some point in the rounds of interviews, you will have people ask more substantive questions, getting at, do you know your stuff? Do you know the law? Do you know how to manage clients? Do you know how to address difficult situations? Can you exercise some judgment in terms of the matters that are before you?
And one of the other things you mentioned too is that a lot of associates assume that if they either had an interview with a particular law firm during OCI, or even if they were offered a job during OCI from a particular law firm, that they're going to get basically a free pass from that law firm at the lateral level, and that that's not the case at all.
That's not the case. Again, it all depends on the business needs of the firm. Even if you're super smart and they loved you the first time around, if you're, let's say, a tax associate and they don't have a need for a tax associate, you're out of luck. Now, the flip side is that most firms also don't hold a grudge. So if they do have a need for your skill set, even if you turn them down for an offer originally, most firms will still, of course, go through the interview process again with you, but not hold a grudge, not hold that against you that you turned them down the first time.
And one of the other things that you hear quite a bit is that when you lateral, and I'm not sure if it matters at what stage, so what year associate you are when this happens, but that the new law firm will actually dock you a partnership year. So if you were to transfer as a 6-year associate, you may come in at the new law firm as a 5th-year associate. Do you see that happening quite a bit?
That does happen fairly often, and it can be for a number of reasons. It may have to do with the associate's level of experience, and that's not to say they don't have good experience, but perhaps you were at a firm where you did rotations for a couple of years before picking your practice area. Maybe you only have 1 full year of M&A experience as a 3rd-year associate and not 2 full years as some of the associates at the new firm would have. So they want to put you on a level playing field. Sometimes it has nothing to do with your experience at all. It just has to do with giving you and the other associates at that firm the best shot at partnership. So let's say you're 2014, but there's already a really strong 2014 at the firm in that same practice group. Maybe they'll have you come in as a 2015 so that you both have the best shot at partnership. So it's fairly common. And the important thing to remember is this is not an insult. It's not a slap in the face. If a firm gives you an offer, they really like you. That's already a huge step. And if they ask you to come in at a lower class year, that's just giving you the best chance at success longer term.
Abby, thank you so much for all this amazing information. I'm going to link all of your articles below so that people can follow up, and then also your LinkedIn and your Lateral Link email. If people have any further questions, can they reach out to you and get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear about other topics you want to hear about, whether it's through an interview, through an article. I'm always looking for more topics to write about and to answer answer any questions that law students and associates might have.
Fantastic. Abby, again, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's always great to talk with you, Angela.